I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
As an African American individual, it said that I had a responsibility to make change and do something, as well as instead of me sitting back and letting the state or the nation or whoever make a change on my behalf or on behalf of the citizens of America. He was saying, you know, it's up to all of us. We all have to like roll up our sleeves and do something to make a change and modification to a society that was changing, you know, at the time.
The JFK, and I think most people would agree, had a keen philosophy about public service. He started some of the things that were like, you give something back, and you, ask not what you can do, you know, for your country, ask what you can do for your country, that sort of thing. So I think everyone who was influenced by JFK was kind of propelled into saying, I want to do my part in giving something back, because it sounds like a great idea. And I think he influenced the whole generation to do that.
I also remember from high school and college the famous words, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And I watched young people respond to that, the Peace Corps, you know, be established. There were other things like that. I mean, J. Rockefeller was brought to West Virginia in a call to public service. I think I got interested in public service because of Kennedy. I think my whole generation was interested in serving our country because Kennedy said it with such zeal and obvious integrity.
His inaugural address, when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That phrase sort of rang through the entire 60s. And then with the civil rights movement and the war in Vietnam, as I was graduating from college in 1967, my options were to go to Vietnam or to try to do something else, and I chose the Peace Corps as an alternative. A number of my friends that had flunked out of school, you know, in the 65, 66 era when the war was heating up in Vietnam, were immediately sent to Vietnam, and some of them, a number of them didn't come back. Very quickly were killed there. So it was very much on our minds of, is there something else that we can do that's going to avoid getting killed in a war that was not particularly well accepted by the people? I mean, because we were being, you know, actively deceived by the military forces in our country about what was happening there and how it was going.
Certainly the Peace Corps would in some ways kind of epitomize the Kennedy presidency of I mean, his old youthfulness and energy, and calling upon the young in this country to take their talents and direct them to other countries less fortunate in the world. And he, I mean, that the seeds of the Peace Corps were really kind of articulated by him in a press conference he had with Meet the Press back in 1951. So it had been churning around in his head, but during the campaign, Nixon kept accusing the Democrats of always taking the nation into wars, and it just burned the hell out of Kennedy. And as a counter to that, he came up with this idea of the Peace Corps and nuclear disarmament. He talked about both of those issues, He was giving a 3-minute speech at the University of Michigan Student Union, and that's where he articulated this notion of calling upon all of you young to take your talents and serve the nation through something. I don't think he used the term Peace Corps. And after it was over, he said, "My gosh," he said, "that just simply electrified them." And he sensed that he really had latched on to something here.
I think I can tell you, being in the Peace Corps, if you want to, I would say it's JFK. I mean, his the person, Sergeant Shriver, who was his brother-in-law, I think, was who in charge of us and came and visited us, and the Peace Corps and having connections with all those people that were there completely woke me up politically. And my students were more political than I was in Ethiopia. They knew everything about politics, everything that was going on in the Muslim world. So I would say absolutely it made me a political creature that was aware of wanting to be part of what's going on in this country with democracy and all of that. Yeah, it was, I think, an eye-opener for all of us that went in the Peace Corps.
Back then, I remember when remember his inauguration. And I remember the famous quote from his inauguration speech of, "Ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And I think that influenced a lot of people back in that time, because he was someone that had great influence over a lot of young people, and that was probably one of the reasons that I decided to serve. Plus, I had other friends who were making that decision as well, so the combination of the two helped me decide.
Well, I think he's been an inspiration to a lot of people, and after that date at the hotel, and I then ran for the legislature in '62, was elected, and in '63, JFK appeared at the Capitol. I was sitting in back of him. It was on West Virginia's birthday, and that's when he made the famous statement, the people in the sun doesn't always shine in West Virginia, but the people do. And it was raining that day, and everybody had umbrellas, and it was very wet. But he was an inspiration because of his focus, and of course Jackie was an inspiration to all women. And I think if he had lived through his terms, he would have accomplished a lot more than he did, of course.
I guess I just admired President Kennedy and the whole family, because I think when someone is doing something that you believe in, something that you think is the right thing to do, that you just want to keep in track of everything they're doing, and possibly think that you could do something similar, or you can make a difference in someone's life. And I believe that he definitely made a difference in just millions of lives.